Next Good Thing, a channel where I help you do stuff. And if you recognize my roommate Courtney, then join me in saying, welcome back!
Yay!
She just came back from Japan. I will link to the other videos below in the description box of what I was up to when she was out of town. Hi,
buddy.
And the video where we helped her pack for her 2-week vacation in one bag.
All right. I know, buddy. It's good to be back.
He missed her a lot. So, do you mind if I ask you while you're holding this, might I say, magnificent puppy?
I do not mind.
So let's kick it off. Right here, we're all about solving problems and addressing things that might make us a little uncomfortable or that might stress us out a little. So, what anxieties did you have going into this vacation, and like what kinds of things did you feel while you were on the trip?
That's a very good question. I mean, as you know, I have some like food anxiety, so as we talked about in the packing video, I brought some snacks with me, and I gotta say that definitely helped. There was also, as with any trip, you're gonna have a little bit of anxiety of, you know, where am I going? What if I get lost somewhere?
Yeah.
And
especially in my sense of direction.
Yeah, me too. And number 3 is just brand new experiences, and especially for help getting around when you don't perfectly know the language of where you're at.
Yeah, that would be a big anxiety for me too, for sure. Step 2. How did you go about addressing these anxieties that you have?
For the food ones, if you remember in our packing video, we showed that I had packed some healthy snacks, and that really helped for me, especially when I was on a train somewhere, or because my trip on a tour happened to be a lot of destinations, so it was a lot of stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. So we didn't necessarily have a lot of time for a really nice lunch, or like as healthy snacks as I would have liked. A lot of times we just had to stop in konbinis, which are the Japanese convenience stores, or at the food stalls around shrines and temples, which, you know, have a lot of fried food, not many fruits and vegetables, a lot of ice cream, which, believe me, I did have plenty of ice cream. But it was also great to just have my healthy snacks on hand if I just wasn't feeling well and just wanted something light but protein packed, so I'd have enough energy to keep going.
And so would you say your food anxieties were more about the ability to like stay healthy or the ability to have food at all?
I would say a combination of both, especially because I've been working with nutritionists on how to eat healthier. I'm glad my nutritionist gave me permission to eat more carbs, and she showed me the proper size and portions that I should be eating. You know, and when I went over there, and she'd actually been to Japan before, so she gave me some great tips on, you know, what to look for and what I can eat. With my schedule, it kind of conflicted with the konbini and what was available. Luckily though, to resolve this, I always made sure that my dinners and whatever snacks I could get were very healthy.
Nice.
And sometimes if the hostel provided breakfast, I would try to make that as healthy as possible, where they'll provide some fruit, some whole grain toast, eggs, trying to make the best of the situation.
That makes sense. And it's okay, like, people have lots of different food anxieties, and it's okay to address them. A lot of times people think that just because you're going to another country, it's like, oh, you have to try all these new things and you'll never try them again, and it's so scary. It's like, you gotta put your health and your happiness first, and if that means trying every new thing, do that, and don't let yourself get discouraged from going off a diet. But also, if you're trying to stay healthy, it's okay to stick to what your plan is, and you don't have to feel like you missed out on something. If you really, I mean, we live in a global world now. If you really missed something, like, there's some specialty shop you can get it, or someone can send it to you. Like, nothing is forever, so it's okay to put number one first.
And it's okay to, if you really want to try something, to ask for a small portion of it.
And if something is on your plate, you don't have to finish it.
You don't have to finish it.
I know, like, all of our parents all of our parents always told us growing up, like, finish everything on your plate. But, like, when you're an adult, or even a quasi-adult, when you're someone who is a person who knows to feed themselves to survive, then you can make your own decisions about that. Parents tell us that because kids will starve themselves because they don't understand that food is necessary for life. As an adult, it's okay to not finish everything. You're not hurting anybody.
Yeah, you're really not. You're only hurting yourself if you force yourself to finish a plate of food when you yourself know I am full.
Yeah, or if you know that finishing it will make you feel terrible.
Yeah.
Whether that's emotionally or physically. And a lot of us like eat food too to please other people, but it's your body. Do what you want.
Yeah. And that can be especially difficult for when you're in a society where they want you to eat everything. It's rude to leave things unfinished. But I would say I really only encountered that when it's a one-on-one, like a dinner situation. Like when I was staying with my friend and she had homemade a meal. That's when, you know, it's very polite to just finish everything that's on your plate. But if you are in that situation, just make sure to grab a little bit of what you're served. Take what you can finish. And that way you're not accidentally displeasing anyone.
Some of your other issues to address. Worried about getting lost.
Yes. And I gotta tell you, a Lifesaver that was available in Japan was renting a pocket Wi-Fi. The company that I rented mine at was called Poopourri, and they specialize.
I'm sorry.
I know.
Can I just let's just leave a moment of time for me to. Excuse you. He doesn't like the gesturing that's going on right now. Let's just leave a moment of time, apparently with one hand, to just put right here the Poopourri logo. Because that's definitely what I thought of.
Yeah. I know, right?
Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, no, it's okay. And there's a bunch of other services like this too. But essentially what you can do is you can reserve it ahead of time. And it's a pocket Wi-Fi device, a hotspot. And they will send it to the airport that you're going to. And you can pick it up. All I had to do was show my passport to verify my identity. And I could take it. It was fully charged already. Turn it on, connect, done. I have Wi-Fi wherever I'm going. And so that was super helpful because I had to navigate from the bus that dropped me off at Shinjuku Station to my hostel, which was like a 20-minute walk through very tiny side streets in Shinjuku where I've never been. And that Wi-Fi was a lifesaver.
And it was easier once you met up with your group.
It was,
right?
yeah. It was easier once I met up with my group. Although I seem to be the only one fully prepared. And do not be embarrassed to be the only one fully prepared. Because when everyone else is lost and they need Wi-Fi, you will be a fucking superhero. Coming in with your Wi-Fi and Google Maps.
Because people think like, oh, I don't need Wi-Fi, I'm going to experience the country. And like, that's fine. But think about like the other things that you use Wi-Fi for. You use it for directions. You use it to help you translate things. It's a lot more necessary these days than it has been in the past.
And actually for my group, it was used for communication a lot of times as well, through the WhatsApp app.
Yeah, oh cool.
For messaging for our tour guide if we ever got separated.
Oh, very smart, because it's very international.
Because it's very international, it's internet based. And as far as I know, nobody in my group got local SIM cards, which is another option for you if you're going international. So instead we relied heavily on Wi-Fi for communication.
Okay. Do you have, I mean, it's not super common these days, but for various reasons, some people don't have that kind of internet capability on their phone. Either they're Wi-Fi only and they can't afford the extra, or they just can't bring that kind of phone with them. Do you have any advice to someone who doesn't have like a smartphone?
That's a good question. I would say definitely go online to check out what resources are available. Japan's difficult in that there's not a lot of free Wi-Fi.
Okay.
But also Japan's national tourism website was extremely helpful for trying to find out whatever your needs are for traveling to Japan.
The last thing we already discussed was you were a little anxious about getting around in a foreign language that you don't know completely.
Yeah.
Girl, I've been there. How did you manage?
You know, at least for English speakers out there, When you're around at least tourism sites, there will be some English available in Japan. All trains, subways, buses that we took, they all had English on both the signs as well as when they are speaking through the intercom. Navigating mass transportation was actually the easiest thing.
Okay, so even if you don't speak the language, you can, with a high degree of confidence, at least know where you're going.
You can at least know where you're going, yeah. And any large tourism sites are going to have some English speakers because there's a high volume of tourists at those sites anyway.
A piece of very good advice I saw for traveling to a country where you don't speak any of the language, which sometimes you might have to do. You might have to like go to China for work and you don't speak any Mandarin, and that could be scary. If you have food allergies of any kind, check with someone, whether it's someone you know or whether it's like a community college student that you pay who speaks the language fluently. Have someone write up a little card in the language of the place that you're going that just says, I am allergic to these things. And that way you don't have to be scared of being poisoned or, you know, have your health issues triggered. I also advise, if you're going to a country that you don't know a lot about, please take the time to look up what is culturally appropriate, because while a lot of times, she was telling me, while a lot of times in Japan it's totally fine to say you're allergic to something, asking for substitutions is really not considered okay.
Yeah, it's a different attitude than what we're used to in America. It's almost rude to ask for substitutions. But allergies are a special consideration and actually a recent consideration that they're striving more towards catering to.
That's cool. If you've been to Japan or if you've been somewhere and you've learned that something you did there was not culturally appropriate, don't beat yourself up. Like, it's impossible for one person to know everything. And even if you do look it up in advance and you mess up, like, that's okay. Just really try to put your best foot forward.
Yeah, and know that there is, especially for right now, a lot of resources for looking into what is culturally appropriate and not culturally appropriate.
That's good.
Yeah, before I looked at podcasts, I looked at blogs, which I could put in the link below, for different resources to really help me understand, because the worst thing I want to do is, especially as an American,
I know,
be
feel
the ugly American when you're abroad.
To the rest of the world watching this, like, we know we're trying.
We're trying. We're sorry. Another case that sometimes happens is we would go into restaurants and my friends would receive those wooden chopsticks, you know, that you separate, and then they decided to like roll them together or do the, you know, this motion to get splinters off. And they didn't know this, but I had to stop them because it's actually very rude to the restaurant. You're implying that they're using cheap materials. And I was just like, no, stop. They're like, why? And I'm like, I'll explain later.
How did they react?
They were very apologetic. They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. You know, I'm so sorry. So that's why it really helps to prepare in advance on the cultural norms. I think the big things when you're going for another country for cultural norms, definitely look at mass transit, eating, dress codes. To
public spaces
dress codes, because there were a couple times where the girls on my trips were wearing things that would be okay in their own country, but in more conservative Japan are a little iffy. And you know, you would hear people talk about the people in the outfits, and it's hard sometimes when you're in another country. You want to wear what makes you feel good.
And I'm not talking about issues of identity. If you're a transgender person or a queer person and you feel like coding your identity in some way through your clothing, be who you are wherever you are. That is my opinion. I fully support you. But in terms of within those outfits, try to choose what is considered an appropriate amount of coverage for a public space.
Yes, that would be a great way to put it, because different countries sexualize different parts, and maybe you don't want to give that impression off.
Yeah, and it's not about you being bad or dirty or wrong.
Right.
It's just about you respect what is generally considered fair for everybody there. And that's the society they've agreed on. And when you're going to another country, you are participating in that society. So you have to make an effort to respect those rules. So with any vacation, things go a million times better than you've expected, and then something you thought was going to be amazing isn't quite what you expected, or an experience was a little different than what you wanted. And it's easy to get down about those things, but it's okay, and you can move forward from them, and they don't have to ruin your trip. So let's get honest for a second. What were some things about your trip that went amazing, better than you could have expected, and what were some things that were not quite what you were hoping or not what you expected?
So the highlights of the Japan trip. Number 1, the food. Number 2, the Japanese people themselves. Number 3, the lush landscape. And number 4, touching history.
Yes.
Some of the downsides were we had a jam-packed itinerary, which meant for me, at least, a little too much go, 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 and not enough downtime to really savor the moment of being in another country. And also, I thought that, I don't know if things were maybe a little too catered for tourists along the way. I would have liked some more actual interaction with people who live in the cities that we were in, as well as perhaps some homestays, to really get the feeling of what it's like to live in another country.
A lot of times people feel a lot of pressure to have fun, which makes things not fun. And a vacation is something you're supposed to enjoy. So when something goes wrong, people can get really upset and feel as though they're not getting the full advantage of those times. But to dwell on it is only going to hurt you. It's not going to make the situation better. And while it's totally okay to acknowledge that, you know, something was a bummer, like you really wanted to go to some place and it was closed that day or whatever, then it's okay to be bummed about it. But don't get so angry or upset that it ruins the rest of the trip. Inevitably, these happen on every person's vacation. So we're going to talk about what those instances were for Courtney's vacation and how we get past them and still manage to have a good time, because you'd say you'd have a good time, right?
Yeah, I definitely had a great time.
Okay.
On one of the days that we were going to go, in the morning, we were supposed to watch sumo wrestlers train. And I was like, oh, this is so exciting, you know. It's very rare that you get a glimpse into that world, especially just being allowed to watch them train. And if our viewers aren't familiar with sumo wrestling, it's actually it's less sport, more religion practice. It's actually more based on the Shinto religion of like clearing the mind, exercising the evil thoughts that are around. It's a very spiritual practice, so being able to watch these guys train for it would be a very special opportunity. Unfortunately, what we did not plan for was that one of the highest decorated positions in the sumo wrestlers hierarchy was going to then be filled by someone of Japanese origin, which hasn't happened in many years. It's lately been filled with a lot of Samoan or Mongolian, Hawaiian men who are able to rise up in the ranks.
Oh, cool.
So there was a huge celebration for it and a tournament in celebration.
Like it coming back home?
Yeah, of, you know, coming back home being like, hey, look, national pride is up. But, you know, that meant that tourists weren't allowed in the tournaments in that area, so we couldn't watch them train. And yeah, that was a bummer because that seems to be a very unique experience. But what's good about, what I really liked about our tour guide is he rolled with the punches. He was like, okay, well, we can't do this, but, you know, maybe how about in an hour we meet up and we do this instead. And he was very accommodating when we said, you know, oh, maybe we don't want to visit this shrine today. We're all kind of tired. Like, can we can we do this instead? Or if we had suggestions of like, hey, I want to visit this small shrine that had this huge dragon's head on it, which was not in our itinerary, but he said, hey, all right, let's go. If you know the way, you know, let's go. And then that was a unique experience. So with traveling, sometimes you just have to kind of roll with it.
There was something that you mentioned that really struck a chord with me. Some people really do enjoy a go, go, go vacation. They want to spend every second doing something and just soak up every part of that time. And I get it. I know people like that. That's totally common. I'm a person who doesn't need as much of that, even if it means that I don't see as much. I'd rather take some me time and then go and enjoy something completely and fully, rather than seeing something just to see it, to say I've done it, to check it off of a list. I just want to enjoy something for as long as I can. So you mentioned that your tour group was a very go, go, go group in a way that you weren't always 100% on board with. So how did you cope with that? Because especially whether you're traveling with a group or you're traveling with family, which I think is also really common, and the group sort of dictates what you all do, how do you cope with that while still being a person who needs time?
That's a good question. I think you have to pick your moments where if you want that downtime, you have to pick them out. And it can be by the day. It was when we were in Kamakura, it was, we were reined in on our one beach day, and, you know, we had all these plans, but, you know, in the end, people were kind of doing things for ourselves. And then later on, we were going to meet up for a beach bonfire. And at that point, I like you, I really needed my downtime.
Yeah, especially near the end of a trip, when you've been going for a while, you can lose steam.
Yeah, especially in the day before and the day before that, we've been doing a lot of heavy hikes, and I was feeling really tired and worn down. So I knew if I went to this beach bonfire, I just, okay, hon. I just, you know, I may be grumpy because I would not enjoy what was going on. So I just took some me time for me. I had a lovely dinner. I used a public bath that they had inside the hostel and went to bed early. And sometimes it's all you just need some recuperation.
And you guys, this is so important. You doing that does not make you ungrateful or bad or sour or whatever you're worried that people will call you.
Right.
I know that sometimes, like when you're traveling on a group trip, I don't think it's as common, but if you're traveling with family, there might be someone who feels close enough to you to say something like, well, I don't understand why you're being so sour about this situation. We all are having a really great opportunity. Why can't you enjoy it like the rest of us? And the answer to that is, I am so grateful for this opportunity. And for me to show my gratitude, I need time to appreciate what I'm being given. You are not a bad person for putting your mental health and your rest and your self-care first.
Right. Yeah, and it's especially important to keep up your health and your spirit as you're going through all this, especially with new experiences, new foods, new areas they may not be familiar with. That can take a toll on you more than you realize. As exhilarating it is to travel, it can also be more taxing than you initially thought.
And the reverse of that too. I'm not hating on people who really like that go, go, go experience.
Right.
I know my mom is always the, let's do as much as we can. And that's totally okay and equally valid. And if you are a go, go, go kind of person traveling with a person who needs breaks and needs time, if you're struggling to be accommodating or you're frustrated with that person, the best way to deal with that is to say, okay, I'll take pictures. I'm leaving at this time if you change your mind. And you have fun. I'll meet you back here at a certain time. It's okay to split off and do your own thing. It's just as okay for you to take time to do what you want to do as it is for another person to take time to decompress.
Yeah, and keep in mind when you are traveling in a group or family or friends, that is totally normal to do. Sometimes you will split off and you will not be all together in one group. Again, catering to everybody's needs, and with the Go Go Go, sometimes I was really glad for that itinerary because we would be able to see a lot of things that sometimes people would take a couple days to see, you know, and maybe if it's something that you just want the pictures of, then you're okay with it just being go, go, go.
Yeah, there are some things that everyone wants to check off a box. I remember when I went to Paris and I went to the Louvre, like, I was so into the antiquities section, and I just wanted to live there. I could have spent 8 years there. I had less than 24 hours in the entire country of France, so I couldn't. But I wanted to spend as much time in the super old stuff as I could, but also I was like, the Mona Lisa's here. I should take a picture. So I got the Mona Lisa picture. I got in and out, and then I enjoyed what I wanted to enjoy.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to prioritize internally within what's around you. So even if you have to like go somewhere and make things a really fast turnaround, it's okay to structure your time within that preset time so that you're enjoying the parts of it that you want to enjoy.
Yeah, exactly.
Make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay. So that's our video for today, guys. Please, if you have more information about Japan or the cultures or the experiences that we've talked about that clarify some questions we had, please feel free to leave a comment below. We always want to learn more. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends, and please come back every Wednesday when I release new videos. You ready for it?
Yes.
I believe in you!